Right, different different spot because my iPhone stand thingy that the ring light usually goes on is downstairs because that's where I film Tears of the Kingdom. So you're getting a different setup. I got a white page open on my screen so it's not so dark, but now it's harder to see the Kindle screen. Yeah, you really can't see me otherwise, so I'll deal somehow. Maybe I'll just make the text larger. Try not to look that much at the computer. I don't know, it's like the Kindle screen is right here, the computer's right behind it, so I can't like just look. I'd be like, nope, we're just looking here. It's elf ear time because why not? Cozy lumberjack elf. Alright, chapter 10. Back to the east. Different part of the east. Jinura was all that Tane had imagined. Ever since she was a child, she had pictured the capital in 1,000 ways, inspired by what she had heard from her learned teachers. Her imagination had fashioned it into a dream of castles and tea houses and pleasure boats. That does sound very nice. Like, what about like food stall boats? I feel like that would be so much fun. Her imagination had not failed her. The shrines were larger than any in Cape Hassan, the streets glistened like sand under the sun, and petals drifted along the canals. Still, more people meant more noise and commotion. Charcoal smoke thickened the air. Oxen pulled carts of goods, messengers ran or rode between buildings, stray hounds nosed at scraps of food, and here and there, a drunkard ranted at the crowds. That just reminds me of the Pit Preacher. We had this place in the middle of campus called the Pit because it was a little bit lower. There would sometimes be events there. And for a while, there was just this guy who would come down there and just stand there and yell. Dumb shit, like dumb, really weirdly religious stuff. So he was the Pit Preacher. I feel like some of us tried to argue with him. Sir, this is a liberal college. This is not your target audience. Alright. In such crowds, Tane had thought Cape Hassan busy, but 100,000 people jostled in Jinura, and for the first time in her life she realized how little of the world she had seen. My brain keeps going, Ginevra. No. Ginny's in a different book. I love her so much. I've got my legs bent again, and my knees are going to be angry at me, so let's try to sit somehow else. I'm just going to sit weirdly, whatever. And for the first time in her life, she realized how little of the world she had seen. You do have to have that realization at some point. The palanquin, I'm overthinking it now. Let's see if the IPA will help me. Palanquin or palanquin. Okay, palanquin. I'm gonna say palanquin. I've said this word so many times it doesn't feel like a word anymore. The palanquin carried the apprentices deeper into the city. The seasoned trees... Computer? I need you not to make any noises. Thank you. Goodbye. The seasoned trees were as vivid as Tane had always been told, with their butter-yellow summer leaves, and the street performers played music that Susa would love. She spotted 2 snow monkeys perched on a roof. Sorry, I thought I got something tangled in the fairy lights. Don't want to rip those. She spotted 2 snow monkeys perched on a roof. Merchants sang of silk and tin and sea grapes from the northern coast. Sea grapes? That's interesting. Makes me think of sea cucumbers. I'm sure that's not what it is. Anything like what it is. As the palanquins wound past canals and over bridges, people turned their backs, as if they were unworthy to look upon the sea guardians. Oh, I thought it was turn their backs as in, like, rudely. That would make no sense, though. Among them were the fish people, as commoners disparagingly called them in Cape Hassan, courtiers who dressed as if they had just walked out of the ocean. Okay, but that sounds really cool, though. Is it just me? Or are they sick of it at this point? Some of them were said to scrape the scales off rainbow fish and comb them through their hair. It seems a little unsanitary, but I like the idea. I love some glitter. Especially for the hair and the face. I don't know if I've ever put glitter in my hair, other than, like, at Disney, where they, like, pixie dust you sometimes. Which is fantastic. I love it. Always here for some glitter. When Tane saw Genera Castle, her breath caught. The roofs were the color of sun-blanched coral, the walls like cuttlebone. It had been designed to resemble the Palace of Many Pearls, where the Seacanese dragons entered their slumber each year, and was said to bridge the sea in the celestial plane. I want more cool fantasy world building. Like, I understand a lot of this is, you know, politics and social stuff, and I get that, but I want more magic and more dragons. Once, in the days when they had possessed all their powers, the dragons had not needed a season of rest. Interesting to hear the story from the, other side, kind of. The procession came to a halt outside the Genera School of War, where the Sea Guardians would be sorted for the first time. I need to stop referencing Harry Potter. I just kicked my chest of Harry Potter books under my bed because I was using it to support my foot as I was painting my nails. I need to turn this. There we go. Now I can sit closer and I can straighten both my legs. Whatever. Okay, sorry. The procession came to a halt outside. It was the oldest and most prestigious institute of its kind, where new soldiers lodged and continued their instruction in the arts of war. It was here that Tani would prove herself worthy of a place in Clan Medici. My brain just went Medici. Yeah, I need to do yoga. I did it yesterday, but I feel like I haven't sat the best today, especially when I was painting my nails. It was here that she would exhibit the skills she had honed since she was a child. Thunder rumbled overhead. As she emerged from the palanquin, her legs buckled, sore from being scrunched up for so long. That doesn't sound very comfortable. Terosa laughed, but a servant caught her. "I have you, honored lady." "Thank you," Tane said. Seeing that she was steady, he held an umbrella over her. The first of the rain drenched her boots as she walked with the others through the gateway, drinking in the grandeur of its silver leaf and sea-blanched wood. That sounds so pretty. Carvings of the great warriors of Seacanese history clustered under its gable as if hiding from the storm. Tane spotted the long-honored Princess Demai and the first warlord among them, heroes of her childhood. Tell me their stories. Tell me. I want all of the folklore. Please. A woman was waiting for them in the hall where they removed their boots. Her hair was sleeked into a coiffure. Once again, I am overthinking a word that I feel like I haven't said aloud before, but I've read it many times. Fancy hair, okay, coif. I know coif, but coiffure seems too American. The pronunciation. I don't know, okay? "Welcome to Genera," she said in a cool voice. "You have the morning to wash and rest in your quarters. At noon you will begin the first of your water trials. In that time you will be observed by the honored sea general, and by those who may yet be your kin." Clan Medici. Tane thrilled inside. The woman led them deeper into the school, through courtyards and covered passageways. Each of the sea guardians was shown into a small room. Tane found herself installed on the upper floors, near the other 3 principal apprentices. Her room looked over a courtyard, where a fish pond was churned to bubbles by the downpour. Oh, that's cool. It's a great image. I love it. The back pieces of hair always sometimes are just like, nope, not gonna be curly. Oh well. I Sorry I keep kicking this. It's a new little footrest ottoman, storage ottoman thing, and it's got legs, so it's a little bit more precarious than my other one, which was just like a solid block. Slightly less space too, but it looks much nicer. Her traveling clothes reeked. It had been 3 days since they had stopped last at a roadside inn. Yikes. He was just 3 days in the palanquin. That does not sound very nice. That's the only thing about, like, me going to a fantasy universe. There needs to be indoor plumbing everywhere. We need some, like, futuristic fantasy. Please. If I can be picky. She found a cypress bath behind a wind wall. What's a wind wall? Scented oils and petals floated on the water. I want a fancy bath. I mean, I did buy 2 Lush bath bombs. I can have a fancy bath. Not with petals, though. And glitter's just as good. I could probably find some petals to put in there. Buys a rose just to put petals in her bath water and be fancy. You know what? Maybe I should do that at some point. One of my bath bombs is a rose. I think it's like a black rose. Dude, that would be so cool. That would be such cool photos. Immediately starts thinking about content. Not everything is about content. I'm learning this. I pick up a new book and I'm like, maybe I should read it like this. I'm like, no, not everything is about content. It's fine. Just because I've been posting like 1 Zelda video a day. Like my brain has started going into like content. It's like latched on and I'm like, it's fine. Relax. Like, the last 3 of them have had, like, 0 views, so I'm not doing this for views anyway. Specifically doing this more, like, for 1 person, and then probably some other people might like it as well. Anyway, sidebar over. Her hair fanned out around her as she sank into it and thought back to Cape Hassan, to Susa. She would be fine. Like a cat, Susa had a way of always landing on her feet. When they were young, and Tane had still made frequent visits to the city, her friend would steal pan-fried lotus roots or salt plums, dashing away like a fox if she was spotted. I want to be a fox. They would hide somewhere and stuff themselves senseless, laughing all the while. The only time Susa had ever looked afraid was when Tane had first met her. That winter had been long and harsh. One bitter evening, Tane had braved a blizzard with one of her teachers to buy firewood in Cape Hassan. While the teacher argued with a merchant, Tane had wandered away to warm her hands by a bowl of hot coals. Uh-oh. That was when she had heard the laughter, and the broken voice crying for help. In a nearby lane she had found another child being kicked around in the snow by urchins. Tane had drawn her wooden sword with a shout. I love that she has a wooden sword. That's adorable. Even at 11, she had known how to use it. The urchins of Cape Hassan were hardened fighters. One of them had pulled his blade up her cheekbone, aiming for the eye. Oh, he had a legit blade. Damn. Leaving a scar shaped just like a fishhook. They had beaten Susa, a starving orphan, for eating a cut of meat from a shrine. I don't think the gods mind. I think they want you to live. Once Tane had frightened off the urchins, she had besieged her teacher to help. At 10, Susa had been too old to begin an education in the houses of learning. She was soon adopted by a tender-hearted innkeeper. Since then, she and Tane had always been friends. They had joked sometimes that they might be sisters, since Susa knew nothing of her parents. Sea sisters, Susa had called them once, 2 pearls formed in the same oyster. That's so pretty. It is getting a highlight. Tane pushed herself from the bathwater. How she had changed since that night in the snow. Yeah, people do tend to do that when they grow up. I can't remember how old she is. Is she like 18? Or older? I don't know. If it had happened now, she might have decided that brawling with urchins was no way for an apprentice to behave. She might even have decided the girl deserved to be beaten for stealing what was meant for gods. At some point she had started to realize how fortunate she was to have the chance to be a dragon rider. That was when her heart had grown harder, like a ship collecting barnacles. Not great. Yet some part of her younger self remained, the part that had hidden the man from the beach. There would be no second chances if she was tired during her first day of instructions. Tane dried herself with linen, threaded her arms into the unlined robe on the bed, and slept. When she woke, it was still misty with rain, but a stream of sallow light had broken through the clouds. Her skin had dried, leaving her cooler and clear-headed. A group of servants soon arrived. She had not been dressed by anyone since she was a child, but she knew better than to quarrel. I feel like that was like the first that we heard of like a little bit of her past. The first trial would take place in a courtyard at the center of the school where the Sea General was waiting. The Sea Guardians took their seats on tiered stone benches. The dragons were already here, watching them from over the rooftops. That's so cool. I love that image. It just makes me think of a courtyard, even though the rooftop's probably not U-shaped, but it's just like makes me think of like a courtyard, and the dragons are all like watching over the rooftops. I feel like that'd be so cool. Tane tried not to look. Welcome to your first water trial. You have been on the road for days, but soldiers of the High Sea Guard have little time for rest, the Sea General called. Today you will prove you can use a halberd. Let us begin with 2 apprentices whose learned teachers speak highly of their skills. Honorable Onren of the East House, Honorable Tane of the South House. Let us see who can best the other first. I'm gonna admit, I only know what a halberd is because of Breath of the Wild. Those are spears, right? Instantly second-guessing myself. Oh, it describes it in the next paragraph. Tane rose. Her throat felt small. When she reached the bottom of the steps, a man handed her a halberd, a light pole weapon, its handle made of white oak, with a curved steel blade at the end. How curved. Huh. That makes me think of, Keladri's preferred weapon. Can't remember the name. If you haven't read Tamara Pierce's books, please do. They're all fantastic. I just finished my, bi-yearly reread. I read the Tortal books first, and then the Emelon books. Bi-yearly as in, every other year, not twice a year. It takes me longer than that to read all those audiobooks, or listen to them. I should remember what that weapon is called. Kel and Becca are my 2 favorite Tortal girls. Nope, I do not. I'm also tired though, so. She removed its lacquered sheath and ran a finger up to its tip. In the South House, the blades had been wooden. Now at last she could use steel. Once Onren had received her halberd, they walked toward each other. Onren grinned. Tane wiped her expression clean even as her palms dampened. Her heart was a trapped butterfly. The water in you is cold, her teacher had once told her. When you hold a weapon, you become a faceless ghost. You give nothing away. I like that. They bowed. A hush descended in her mind, like the quiet that came at twilight. Begin, the Sea General said. At once, Onren closed the space between them. Tane whirled her halberd in both hands, the blades clashing together. Onren let out a short, loud shout. Tane made no sound. Once again, I'm gonna compare, but Dune, the fight with Jameis, if you know, you know. But that inspired me to use that in some other thing that I wrote, because I like the idea of the main character not speaking and not engaging in this verbal parrying while they were fighting, and that really unnerving the other opponent. Ugh, fantastic. Onren broke the lock and paced backwards, away from Tane, halberd pointed at her chest. Tane waited for her to make the next move. There had to be a reason Onren had been principal apprentice in the East House. As if she could hear the thought, Onren began to spin her halberd around her body, passing it fluently over her arms and between her hands in a show of confidence. Tane tightened her grip, watching. Onren favored one side. She avoided putting too much weight on her left knee. Tane recalled distantly that Onren had been kicked by a horse when she was younger. Emboldened, Tane strode forward, halberd raised. Onren came to meet her. This time they were faster. 1, 2, 3 clashes. Onren barked wordless threats with every attack. Tane parried her in silence. Save your energy anyway. Oh, sorry. 4, 5, 6. Tane snapped the halberd up and down, using the handle as well as the blade. Nice. 7, 8, 9. When a downcut came, she wielded the halberd as if it were on a pivot, Up at one end, then the other, shunting the blow aside and leaving her opponent exposed. Anren only just recovered in time to thwart the next strike, but when she thrust out her weapon again, the wind hissed past Tane. One hand flew to her ear, seeking blood, but there was nothing. Her distraction cost her. Anren came at her in a flurry of oak and steel, unleashing her considerable strength. They were fighting for honor, for glory, for the dreams they had nurtured since they were children. Tane clenched her teeth as she danced and dodged, sweat drenching her tunic, hair stuck to her nape. One of the dragons let out a huff. The reminder of their presence stiffened her determination. To win this, she would have to take a hit. She let Anren knock her arm with the handle hard enough to bruise her. The pain went deep. Anren drove her weapon like a fish spear. Tane leaped backward, giving her a wide berth. Then, when Anren raised her arms for a final downcut, Tane rolled and swung hard for her weak knee. Wood snapped cleanly against bone. Anren skidded with a gasp. Her knee gave way. Before she could rise, Tane had set her blade across her shoulders. "Rise," said the sea general, sounding pleased. "Well fought. Honorable Tane of the South House, victory is yours." The spectators applauded. Tane handed the halberd to a servant and extended a hand to Anren. "Did I hurt you?" Anren let Tane help her up. "Well," she said, panting, "I suspect you've broken my kneecap." A puff of briny air came from behind them. The green lacustrine dragon was grinning at Tane over the rooftop, showing all her teeth. For the first time, Tane smiled back. Distantly, she realized that Anren was still speaking. "Sorry," she said, light-headed with joy. "What did you say?" "I was only observing how the fiercest warriors can hide behind such gentle faces." I like that. I like some friendly competition where, the person isn't taking it personally, like I'm sure the other guy would. But that guy's got like a chip on his shoulder, or a grudge against Tane, as far as I can remember. They bowed to each other before Anren nodded to the benches, where the apprentices were still clapping. "Take a good look at Tarosa. He knows he has a fight on his hands." "That guy." Tane followed her gaze. Tarosa had never looked so angry, nor so determined. I think this is going to have to be a short one, because I haven't been getting enough sleep, so I am going to have to go to bed early, or try to go to bed early. By the time I finish my pre-bedtime routine, it's going to be like right about time, so. Oop. I'll try once again. I say the same thing. I'll try to do the next video sooner.